Okay, folks, hello. It's Michael with the Reason RX podcast and my co-host.
Melanie.
Yay! Laughing Melanie.
You-
And we are joined by the world-renowned trio JKL to do part two of Coyote America book review. So will you say hi, please, J, K, and L?
Hi, please, Jake. Now,
Thank you.
Hi.
Okay, Jack. Hey, Jack.
Hi.
Hey, Kira.
Hi.
Hey, Leo.
hi.
Hey, Melanie.
Hi, Michael.
Okay, so we did part two, part one. What did you say? April 19th?
It was. Yep.
Yeah. So been a while. We wanted to do it earlier, but we've been busy with school, and I gotta finish off the school year. Kids already did it. Kids preparing for finals and had my CrossFit. I mean, I'm tired. Clearly, my MoveNet certification, not a CrossFit cert. Had a MoveNet certification, level 2, and Melanie's been busy pianoing and momming and working and homeschooling and so
Exactly.
and the kids have been busy mathematizing and finalizing and stuff like that. So there'll probably be some overlap and repetition and review from last time, but there'll be some new stuff this time too. We'll see. But so we wanted to talk more about Coyote America, I think, because we didn't really finish doing a good book review because we were cut short last time and all that. And it's a good book. So, Melanie, what'd you think about the book?
Well, again, like last time, it was a real eye-opener for me as far as just the coyote itself. I mean, history and placement, on the map as far as where it came from and how it's kind of become a part of our culture and in what way. I thought the book was very thorough, very well written, and also very supported. I mean, he cited a lot of sources, and there were lots of different people playing a role in where he kind of came up with the whole coyote concept of how it fits into our culture. So I liked it. I thought it was good. It was a tough read, just to be honest. It was a little tough for the younger kids.
Yeah.
My youngest, Jack, he's only 11 right now, and that was a uphill climb for him to get. But I think at the end, we all liked it. I think at the end.
Yeah, and so what we got to remember, people out there, if you use it, there's a qualification. Some of it's rated like PG, one part of it, and we'll put that in the show notes again. We did that last time, but most of it's accessible, but it wouldn't necessarily be a book you want to read first time in biology, but still recommend it sometime or other in biology to learn more about ecology and predators and how everything's related and interrelated. I think a lot of people have misconceptions about predators, misconceptions about mountain lions, coyotes, bobcats, hawks, all this stuff. People don't, snakes, thank you. They don't know. There's a lot of ignorance and conventional wisdom. And just as some people say, something like ignorance leads to fear, fear leads to destruction and killing. And that's an idea that comes up with people, not other animals, but with people in many different ways. People against people, people against certain people you don't like, certain lifestyles or races or whatever, and people against some animals. So it's something we can only take care of with rationality, logic, and objectivity. Rationality, logic, and objectivity kills conventional wisdom, as it should when it's wrong. If conventional wisdom is based on those things, it's good, but otherwise, no. So, as we say, this book, depending on the level of the kid and the age, Some of it, maybe a kid in a lower grade could read just a chapter or a selection. It could be read to them. When children are older, they could read it on their own. So there's ways you can work with the book and work it into a curriculum, and into like adding to your own kids' education if they're going to a public or private school, or work it into a curriculum if you're a teacher or homeschool parent. And you probably want to read some other books before it. As Melanie's saying, it can be more complicated in some ways, not necessarily what you want to read at first. It could be good to read. What's a book they might want to read first, Leah?
Soul of a Horse would be a better start.
Yeah.
Or Fire Hunter.
Yeah, so they're both really good books, but Soul of a Horse, and Fire Hunter could be more accessible. We've talked about Soul of the Horse in the past, and hope to be talking about it more in the near future. And we'll be doing a book review of Fire Hunter. Excuse me. But this one and some others could be fit in. Maybe, what is it? I think Heart of a Lion. I'll have to look it up, put it in the show notes. That might be one they could read before this also. But it's one definitely that helps people understand ecology and predators. And then people could learn a little bit too about the wolves of Yellowstone first. Excuse me. And a little bit about what Robert Payne and his research on purple starfish and their role in ecology. I think it's from there that he got the concept of keystone species. But some things like that, some biology would be important background material. But it's a good book. We recommended it. As I say, I had JKL read it, and in teaching them science, learning biology and science. Not just biology as such, but what science itself is and how to do it. Excuse me. And so there's a little bit about how to fit it into a curriculum, why we should read it. Did you want to say something, Melanie?
I did. I got to thinking, students have to come up with some science projects often, and they have to have a good concept. This would be an awesome resource for them.
Sure.
And it goes all the way back to its history and how it even plays a role in our lives today. And it would be a really good place to at least check out if they're doing a science project.
Good point. So yeah, I think especially nowadays with the culture, people think in terms of science, they have this weird fetish or glorification of physics and chemistry. And they're good sciences, but people tend to ignore biology. And that's really weird. Biology is way more important because we're living things. We're not rational rocks. Then in that case, maybe physics would be more important. But we're rational animals, and so biology is more important. Our nature, what we should eat, how we should sleep, what we depend on, the plants and animals, what their lives need to be like to be healthy, what kind of ecology we should live in, how the world works, where life comes from. So the biology is really important. So people could do more biology science fair projects. And that's a good point, Melanie. This would be a good resource for that. Even in college, it's not like it's only for kids. Actually in some cases, like reading this as in college or as an adult would be better for some people. But so let's see. So let's go through some things about the book. Kara, how would you describe it? Like, what is the book about in general? What's the main idea?
Well, it sort of tells the history of coyotes and how they've been misunderstood by Americans, not Native Americans, but European Americans, colonizers, but yeah, colonizers. So, and how they've been misunderstood and then hated, and just there's really no valid reason behind all of the slaughtering that they've had to put up with. So.
Yeah. So yeah, there's several different, the main idea is, of course, is about coyotes.
Yeah.
Like, what is a coyote like, and why does it matter, right? What is a coyote? Why does it matter? Basic idea that the book's about, and then it's got some maybe sub-themes, you could call them, subtopics in that regard when we start analyzing the book more. And one thing is, as you say, how people look at the coyote. Because there's not just like us looking at something and however we see it is true. You got to look at the thing and the person processing that knowledge about that thing and evaluating it. You got to look at the knower and the valuer and the thing. And so that's a more philosophical way to put what Kira was talking about. He does, the author does a really good job of showing ways and really describing in good detail how coyotes have been looked at, thought about, and evaluated by people, right? Would you agree, Kira, or would you disagree and say you're wrong?
I would agree.
Sweet. So thank you, Dan Flores, for that. That's a good aspect of the book. It added a lot to it. What about you, Leo? What would you say the book is about?
Well, I'd say it's about coyotes, obviously, and it's about how Americans have...
And coyotes in America. It's not about coyotes in Europe, or coyotes in Hawaii, or coyotes in Alaska, or coyotes on Mars. It's about coyotes in America, right? Okay, go ahead, sorry.
How Americans have viewed coyotes differently over time, and sort of tells the story of the interactions between coyotes and Americans.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jack? Anything else to add, or that's basically it?
That's basically it.
Yeah. It's like, is that no fair? Kira and Leo stole your words. Were they looking at your paper? You wrote that down and they cheated off you?
I think he's just glad that he does that.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are some passages from the book or examples, things you remember about that aspect of the book, about how people looked at coyotes and treated them different? What do y'all remember?
Well, I remember there being a part where it was like they disliked wolves because wolves had eaten their livestock and deers and such, and so they started killing off wolves, and wolves kind of died easily. So then they were like, oh, well, coyotes are like wolves, right? So let's start killing them now. Mm-hmm. And then without really any real evidence as to what coyotes actually did.
Yeah, so Dan Flores talks about how Europeans brought some bad ideas over with them about wolves, and so when they came here, they wanted to kill the wolves also, right?
Yeah.
Instead of stopping to think scientifically and in an integrated fashion, what kind of ecology and biological world do we need to survive and thrive? It's like we talked about earlier, they're doing the thing, if you're ignorant of it, you fear it. If you fear it, you kill it. That's too much in human history. And so instead of trying to understand it and making effort, they kill. And instead of managing it or something. Like, how can we manage this? Like with dogs or llamas or doing something to protect our cattle, or realizing that, oh, they're only killing a few cattle, so whatever. Or are they really killing it? And was it really the wolf, or was it a pack of dogs or something? They jump to conclusions, they're not logical, and they go around killing the wolves. And yeah, like, oh, coyotes look like wolves, so let's kill them. It's another predator.
Which might bring in, sorry.
What? Go ahead. Yeah.
Which might bring in those tracking skills when we talked to Kim. with about tracking and being able to tell really what animal it was that was
Yeah.
that was there. So, and that's a great. We were talking about with her about how important that is in biology, just for understanding what it is you're looking at. And so you can easily put the label on the wrong predator.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So they can just be just like a lynch mob and say, "Whoa, someone killed my cousin. Let's go kill. Look, it could be you. Let's kill you." Instead of figuring out if that was really the person that killed your cousin.
right. You need to use some scientific method here.
Yeah.
What you're certain.
And like you're saying, if you claim it's a mountain lion, well, are those really mountain lion tracks or are they dog tracks? People confuse it a lot. Very, very, very prevalent and way too common. What did Kim say? Like 90% of the time or more, it's a dog track?
Yeah.
Not a mountain lion?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then people do that with like saying that coyotes kill things, kill their livestock or whatever without really researching it. They have no evidence, they have no reasoning, they have no observation, they just make some arbitrary claim. It's just basically being like a lynch mob.
Mm-hmm.
So, wrong, not good.
Yeah, like as Mom was saying, she was saying how like in the cities, people would say coyotes are eating all these cats and dogs. And then they dissect some dead coyotes, and then they find out that they actually weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Like by stomach contents.
Yeah. A lot of times they'll eat bunnies and rodents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like some people remember, you might think that rats and mice and bunnies are cute. In some ways they are, but remember, mice are also nasty disease-carrying things. From my study of history, I don't recall ever hearing that the bubonic plague was caused by fleas carried by snakes or carried by coyotes or wolves. From my recollections and from what I've heard, a lot of these nasty diseases were caused by things carried by rats and mice. And if coyotes are killing the mice, then that's making the world better for us. Very important. But, so, yeah, it's important to know what's really going on with this stuff. That's another aspect of the book that's important, the scientific method. Bringing that into play. But, so, the book covers, as we say, how the coyote was looked at. People had some ideas about wolves. They brought him over here, applied some of the same stuff to coyotes without really knowing them. Coyotes, lions, bobcats had some of the same bad results. And so, who were some of the people in America that encouraged some of that or had spread some of the same misconceptions?
Mark Twain wrote a book. It was called, I think, Roughing It. Yeah, and in it he described coyotes as mean creatures, and that they were sick and miserable and cowardly, and not even worth the price of ammunition to shoot. And so that definitely started some ideas in the general public that coyotes are horrible. They're disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be kind of going on the wave of what people thought about wolves from Europe, unfortunately, and add to that. Then he was a widely read author, had some influence. I don't know to what extent, but Dan Flores does bring him up as an example of someone who's widely read and influential in how people misconceived of the coyote, right? And that's going to make people think that their lives are worthless, they can be killed, they don't really matter. But, again, that shows ignorance of ecology and the interrelationships. Just like Kira mentioned earlier with the snakes, what happened at Scribe Vineyards? Remember, Jack?
So the people saw some rattlesnakes next to like this river, and rattlesnakes are poisonous, so they killed them all. It was like, oh, they're poisonous. I don't want them around. But then it turns out that they started getting all these holes in the ground because of the gophers that the rattlesnakes didn't eat because they were dead. So,
Yeah. Do you want to expand on that anymore, Leo or Kira? Or should I?
No, that's about all I remember about
Yeah.
that.
So there's scribe vineyards in California, and I think that's when some of them were riding around their horses, they'd see some rattlesnakes, and of course, conventional wisdom, ignorance is, oh, look, it's a rattlesnake, it's dangerous, kill it. And they're actually called venomous, not poisonous, Jack, but, just depends what you mean technically by them.
Are rattlesnakes venomous?
Yeah, that's a proper term.
No, I'm confusing them with pythons.
Okay, cool. All good. Live and learn. And so, as a lot of people would, he'd kill them. And then as they got a vineyard out there, they got a lot of grapes growing, and so as Jack said, there are fewer snakes because they're being killed, and then all of a sudden there are more gopher holes, and that's significant because it was undercutting their crop. They couldn't grow as many grapes. It was interfering with their profits and the vineyard and all that. And so, thankfully, the guy wasn't ignorant, as some people would be. He was more of a thinker. He thought, whoa, wait, there's more gophers now. And he asked why. Instead of just seeing the fact and be kind of concrete bound and look at everything in isolation. Oh, look, snakes, kill them. Oh, look, gophers, kill them. Oh, look, something new, kill it. How do things relate? What's going on? Why? He was like, okay, there's more gophers now. Why are there more gophers? And then I don't know what happened, but he finally got the answer. Whoa, there's more gophers because I killed the rattlesnakes. Damn. And if people look it up, you'll find that rattlesnakes are one of the only animals that can go into the holes, into the burrows of the gopher and get them there. Some other things got to wait till they're outside, away from a hole, away from their burrow to be able to get them. Maybe some owls or some bobcats, coyotes, but rattlesnakes have the capability of going in the hole to get the damn things and clearing them out. And so they serve as an important biological control on the population, therefore allowing more grapes to grow, people to have more wine at parties, and the place to have more profits.
That's right.
So it's a good thing. So, similar here, we got to make sure we don't have improper conceptions of the coyote. Otherwise, it's going to cause some unintended consequences, as people call it. And, one way to... What?
I was going to say, maybe one thing to also learn from this is check your sources. I mean, Mark Twain, was he necessarily an authority on biology? And I mean, he was a great humorous writer on, the culture and the vernacular, but ultimately, what does he know about coyotes? So
right. Yeah.
To have an entire movement result from it, it's kind of...
Yeah. So it's unfortunate. So, what are some other things that people in the American culture said about coyotes? What did they call some of them?
The original Bolshevik?
Yeah, which is like stupid. A coyote, a Bolshevik? How the hell? That shows a massive misunderstanding of politics and history and communism and Bolsheviks and everything. It's like, what the heck? Dumb. Or yeah, they call them like Nazis and communists and all kinds of stupid stuff like that. Just bizarre. But again, that's unfortunately some of that aspect that's part of human history. Is part of people, if they fall on ignorance and don't think. The antidote, the cure for it is to think and be logical and rational and objective. But we got Mark Twain saying some stuff, having misconceptions from Europe, and people throwing out all these insults at coyotes and epithets, and that don't even make sense if you stop and think about it. It's just rationalizations for hatred. And that happens, with towards some people too, as we say.
Yes.
And so that's one thing people can get from the book. If we think in principle, how does this come up in other areas of life? What's the principle here? Coyotes are being called Bolsheviks. Well, how does that come up in our modern society? That's just a way some people use slander to try to marginalize or attack some people instead of arguing ideas and really learning what the person's really about. I don't want to know this person. I just want to hate him and attack him. Not good. And so, in talking about coyotes like that, he's talking about the general principle. And that's really good. So that's another good aspect, kind of a sub-theme of the whole general theme that you were talking about at first, Leo and Kira, about the fact that the book is about how people have viewed and evaluated coyotes, right? Anything else y'all want to add to that point?
Not really.
Cool. So that's some good observations and some good thinking about that. And y'all agree, Kira and Leo, that that's an important point?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And again, how old are you, Leo?
16.
And Kira?
14.
And Jack?
11.
Yeah. And I think this is a good place for some people to start. Sometimes if we're talking about people and you're talking about your own diet or your own view towards people or your own politics or something, it can be harder for people to see what's going on and to change. But if we get people to look at, this is what's going on with coyotes, or look at horses, or look at snakes, and we get people to understand that, then draw the similarity, see what the similar principle is, and to how we're doing something in our own lives, it can make it more accessible to people. Right? So, what's another aspect of the book that y'all recall? What's something else you learned? So we talked about basically what is the book about. What is another thing that the book is about, or something else you learned from it?
Well, one thing is and so the coyote, before they were persecuted by settlers, the Native Americans revered the coyote as a god that they created the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Old man coyote, and the coyote god embodied a lot of human traits.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting how more primitive cultures have, Native Americans and ancient Egyptians and stuff, have gods that resemble animals and sort of are about this is the river god or the wind god or whatnot, and they're sort of connected to nature. But later, as mankind achieved more of a dominance or an appearance of dominance over nature, then they started worshiping gods that were humans. In Christianity, the God has created man in his own image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
And then that gives them free will to do whatever they want with nature with no fear of consequences.
Yeah.
Or they think.
Yeah, and then they get some kind of more abstract conception of God, kind of for Plato, the good. But yeah, that's a good point. How it's So to continue on the same trend, instead of going on a new point, we're still talking about how people looked at the coyote and what we can learn from all that. And yeah, because we talked about the negative, but I'd forgotten to talk about the positive. So it's a good point. You returned to that and brought it up, Leo, stressed it. How people used to do that, and then nowadays there's some people who really understand and appreciate the coyote. It's not like it's all negative. Even during Twain's time and some of this other stuff, there were still people understanding the coyote and appreciating them and trying to fight for what's right. And of course, Dan Flores wrote the book, so of course there's people nowadays. There's people who like it. So it's not like everyone's all like Mark Twain or whatever nowadays. But so and then back then it's interesting, people looking at the world around them and knowing that this stuff gave them life and therefore worshiping that. And so it's interesting, even though people didn't know all the physics and chlorophyll and stuff, they still knew that the sun was essential for life, and therefore a lot of them worshipped it. Or they knew water was important, so they worshipped water. And we'd have to go back and see their mindset and to see what extent it was just an appreciation for those things, and to what extent it was some kind of irrational worship or something. But they knew the sun and water were important. And then some people, as you say, like the Native American Indians, knew that the coyote was a significant player or figure in their ecology and in their lives, therefore. And they learned a lot from it, right? But yeah, good point. Thanks. Anything else on that, like Jack or Kira? No, Leo said it all. Cool. Anything else you want to add to that, Leo?
Not really.
But yeah. And then some of those stories come up in the book, so people can get more detail about that. Except for some parts, as we say, are rated PG. Like, what is it, page 10 or something like that, Melanie?
It's in the italicized story, like the
Online,
there's yeah, pardon me.
The excerpt, like online, kind of.
No, it's like the coyote giving his narrative. It's like a story within the book,
Okay.
and the coyote's giving a little narrative. But and there's two places really in the first chapter, and then after that, really nothing like that. It's just the
Cool.
first chapter's
Yeah.
kind of.
Okay.
We'll highlight that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that brings up another point besides the worship. Remember, ancient people were very alert and smart and aware of their environment and their ecology and what's going on around them. They had to, like other animals. Where's food? Where's water? What's going on around me? How am I going to eat? How am I going to be safe? They're very, very sharp. And they, as they get older, they learn a lot more about the ecology going on around them. They didn't have distractions like video games and stuff like that. They were focused on life. But one aspect that brings up too is in all this observation, people learned some things about the coyote, and they knew that they were similar to people in an important respect. Do you remember what that respect is called, Jack? Is that an airplane?
Yeah.
We live
Jeez.
in Boston.
Someone buzzing the house? Sounds like it went right over.
Oh yeah, an airplane passes. It's just like white noise to us. We're so used to it. So.
Yeah. But do you remember what aspect there is that we learned scientifically that coyotes and people have in common?
Vision fusion.
Yes. Say it again.
Vision fusion.
Yes, from the mouth of an 11-year-old. Vision fusion. What's vision fusion, Jack?
It's where they can survive in like a pack or alone. They can hunt and stuff, but what they eat varies. Like if they're alone, they might eat some berries and small animals. But if they're in a pack, they might eat.
Like a deer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And what are some other, like coyotes have fission fusion, people have fission fusion. What are some other animals that have fission fusion?
Oh, I think there are bats and chimpanzees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember some of the others, what else there is, but chimpanzees have fission fusion characteristic or fission fusion adaptation, and so do bats. So chimpanzees will gather in larger groups and then separate some and go into smaller groups sometimes and come back together and all that. As opposed to say like what is it? I think a cheetah lives mostly solitary. Wolves are pretty much pack animals. They're not alone much. Horses, herd animals, they're not alone much. They're not fission fusion. Ants, it's more of a colony. They're not, none of them go off and live on their own. They don't go, bye mom and dad. So, yeah, it's an important adaptation. So, do y'all remember what it said about coyotes in reference to fission fusion and how coyotes live and other biological characteristics of them?
Well, not so much fission fusion, but something I found interesting was that they could vary their litter size. So like when they were being threatened, I think they had more pups, so there was a better chance of them surviving, and then they could have less if they were in a good environment and stuff.
Yeah, so I think part of it too is how many other coyotes are around.
Yeah.
There's different characteristics, different factors, causal factors, and one of them is the number of other coyotes. So what's the significance of some of that for how they interact with people?
Well, as humans rapidly kill them off, they can still birth more coyotes in a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people try to kill them off, then they might increase the litter size to 10 or 20.
Yeah.
Whereas if there are more coyotes around, then the litter size might just be 2 or 4.
Yeah.
And then wolves don't have that characteristic, and that's one reason for what you said earlier, how it was kind of easier to exterminate wolves, so to speak, because of some characteristics of wolves. The fact that they have a different nature because they have a different place in the biological niche. They have a different role, and so they don't change their litter size as much as coyotes, right? You want to add anything to that, Leo or Jack? Okay, what are some other things you learned about coyotes biologically? So we got litter size, fission fusion. Should I
biologically?
So what about remember the fact that coyotes adapt to some circumstances that maybe wolves don't. So now it's my turn. Helicopter though. So because of their role, they're not a top predator like wolves are. Wolves don't have to worry about anything above them. Whereas coyotes are predators, but they have predators above them, so they got to be more clever, right? And remember how Dan Flores talked about how that affects how they adapt and how they can learn more quickly some things than wolves seem to? Because, they got to look at coyotes are used to a predator being above them, so when we come along to kill them, it's like nothing new. It's like what they're used to, whereas it's not the case for wolves, right? Or bears. So coyotes have to because of their nature and their place in the ecosystem, they have to adapt. So they learn to adapt to around people more, adjust their hunting and when they're out and things like that, right? And then they learn, if people don't kill the older ones, that's another like incorrect, bad idea some people have. The older coyotes teach the younger ones how to hunt, what to stay away from. And so by killing some of the older coyotes, then the younger ones do not have guidance to stay away from people. And that's what causes some problems. It's not the coyote itself, it's people acting on bad ideas that causes some of these bad interactions. Same thing with some like mountain lions. Some people will get all like paranoid about mountain lions, but it's only because people doing silly things and acting on bad ideas that the older ones aren't there around to teach the younger ones. And so then it's usually young male mountain lions that are going out on their own that we read about in the papers, like attacking people. It's because they don't have a food source, they're hungry, they're not being taught by their elders, things like that. And that's the fundamental problem. And unfortunately, people get too caught up in the here and now and the proximate cause. Oh, a mountain lion attacked me. And they draw the wrong conclusions. Mountain lions attack. Well, not necessarily. I mean, by that logic, we should kill all human beings because some humans kill others. Look, this country attacked this country. Kill all the countries. This person attacked this person. Kill all the people. Well, no. You got to look at what and why, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else y'all want to add about the book? What are other aspects about it that are important? So in talking about the book, we're automatically talking about what you learned. Anything else you want to add to that? Like, what did you learn? Why does it matter?
Well, there's the whole lesson about conventional wisdom and how you can apply that to your own life, and how just because everybody believes one thing, it's very conceivable that they're all wrong about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's some books and stuff about the wisdom of crowds. I've never read it. I don't know exactly what they say, but just because a lot of people think something doesn't mean it's right. It's only when rational people who are objective and who know the truth, a lot of them think something, then it's more serious. But people thinking something as such in isolation is irrelevant. I don't care if 99% of the scientists think that the sun goes around the earth, I don't care. Because the earth goes around the sun.
Or that there was global warming.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You need to wait till you.
Or that God exists.
You got to know what the facts are, and think for yourself on all these different issues. What is the solar system like? I don't care what 99% of scientists think. What are the facts? What is the reasoning? Is there global warming or not? I don't care what 99% think, whether it's for or against. What are the facts and what are the reasons? And all these other issues, like religion, politics, all this stuff, you need to think, what is really the case? Right?
And that carries into your daily life, medicine, immunization,
Yeah.
what you eat, how you sleep or exercise. These are all things you need to question.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if 99% of the doctors say this is a healthy diet.
Oh.
What is, in fact, a healthy diet? I don't want a consensus. That's just as we talked about before. Even chimpanzees have fads. Like, there's that video we talked about where some female chimpanzee puts a piece of straw in her ear, and then all these others start doing it too. I don't care about the dang fads. A lot of people like the Kardashians too, but a lot of that is just fads. Okay, it's, at least the Kardashians, maybe they're smart, they're marketing, they're making money, some stuff like that. Maybe there's some good aspects to it, but we need better people that people like. We need better individuals that the culture at large pays a lot of attention to than them. You know, it's like, it says something about our culture when they're just putting straw in their ear instead of really improving themselves and finding out what the truth is and what really matters. But yeah, so that whole idea of addressing conventional wisdom in this aspect and letting people see how it's wrong by talking about the consequences of killing off the coyote, all these bad things that happen, more mice, more disease, and he could talk about more, but he doesn't. But you know, you got more like mice and deer and stuff because you don't have as many predators. Well, then you got more Lyme disease and stuff like that. So we can either have the predators, scare them, teach them to stay away from us, have the adult predators teach the younger ones to stay away, and have them control the deer population so we keep Lyme and all this and other stuff down. You know, like people in Europe had the Black Plague because they had too many mice and stuff. We can do that, or we can kill off the predators and prepare ourselves for mass human death because of stupid things we've done. You know? But in seeing this particular topic on coyotes, then we can extend that thinking to other areas. What about conventional wisdom with the mountain lion? What about conventional wisdom with the snake? What about conventional wisdom with diet? So that's a really good point, Kara. She's smiling like, of course, what do you expect? But do you want to add anything more to that, Kara?
Not really.
Leah?
No.
Jack?
Oh.
Jack is a man of many words. Okay, are there any other aspects of the book you want to talk about or be good for people to know about that would
Oh, well, there's one thing where he talks about some new creature. I think it was called the red wolf, maybe? Is that what it's called? Or maybe... And how it has some coyote genes in it. I forget a lot of the details, but there's something about this new creature or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. So what are the pros and cons of the book? What do you think are like good things about it, and not so much bad things, but maybe qualifications? You know, like it could be more advanced. Anything you want to say in that regard?
For pros.
Yeah, like good things about the book or
Yeah,
qualifications.
it's,
What?
yes, it's very detailed. You'll get the full picture of this story. There's really nothing you could possibly be missing from.
Yeah. So very comprehensive. So it's got both big picture and detail in there, right? Good. That's a good point. What else?
Well, yeah, the guy clearly knows a lot about the subject, and he talks about many things. Like, he even talks about Wile E. Coyote and
Yeah.
Runner.
Yeah.
And, he starts with, like, the mythology, and then and he also mentions coyote evolution and stuff, so he clearly knows a lot about coyotes.
Mm-hmm. And so to kind of segue on that, to develop that, a pro about the book is that it gives you a lot of information, a lot of facts you could dig into yourself. It can be used as a springboard for other research. Like, oh, fission fusion. What's fission fusion? Let me dig into that. Oh, how does that relate to ecology? How does that relate to evolution? Like, why is it that way? Or he talks about some of the particular people who had beliefs about the coyote. And so you can dig into that and see what people believed and why, and at what point in history. Native Americans, read the stories, see what Mark Twain said, dig into it on your own, right? Kind of fact check, so to speak. Then learn more about coyote lifestyle and all that. What, Melanie?
I like how he kind of lays out for us how the coyotes sort of migrated across the United States and down into Central America and so on. But he also really paints a clear picture of how they are a part of our society, into our cities now.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very established here. And ironically, just as we were reading this book and kind of finishing it up, and he was talking about them being present in the city and part of our lives, even though we might not always see them, they're there somewhere. There's a public chat board that had somebody come on about coyotes, saying they sighted one in some yard or whatever in the suburb, and immediately people were on, oh, let's kill them all, and we got to set and all this. So it was. I might not have paid much attention to that comment, and opened that little particular chat thread, but I did, and most everyone was completely against the coyote as being a part. So it's prevalent.
Yeah.
The negative look at the coyote, and he's trying very hard to say that they live here, but they're not chasing us down. They're not, you know what I mean? It's not like it's a...
Yeah, they're not after us. Yeah. Silly. And yeah, it's like after reading the book, it puts things in a whole new light. Because at first it'd just be, the coyote, whatever, and now it's like, how people have looked at it and its role in the ecology and how people have done all this stuff and it hadn't helped, and so you read that, and it's totally different than before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you see that there's all these people who know nothing about coyotes but are running their mouths about them. So they've been in the city all along, and it's been fine. Everyone's been happy. Then all of a sudden they find out about it. Kill him, kill him, kill him! What's the difference? Like, how things are when you know about it now versus how things are before you knew about it, it's not different. Yeah, it's like silly. It shows how like some conventional wisdom is so irrational and dangerous. What?
There's a pretty strong deer population here, but there's no hunting of deer. You can't do anything, and so it's very dangerous at night driving. And so if they are the predator to the deer a bit, Yeah. And that's the balance of nature that helps us live, and people don't think through it. They don't realize, that they're taking care of that a little bit, not out to find small children. Pets.
Yeah.
So it's a good.
Yeah, and that's good. It's like partly because people aren't thinking through things enough. Partly a big part of it is the culture and the educational system does not teach them the biological knowledge that they should have to live in this society.
Yeah.
Because it's like if people really cared about lives, then they should be killing off all the deer because of all the car accidents we get in.
Oh, yeah.
The damage to cars, people being injured, people being killed. And then, if they'd look into things, they'd realize that some squirrels and some birds and some deers aren't the like cute little herbivores they think they are. Oh, it's just an innocent little squirrel eating nuts or an innocent little deer eating like grass. Wrong. They eat birds and stuff. Squirrels eat baby squirrels. Squirrels eat baby birds. Birds eat eggs. Birds eat baby birds. Birds eat eggs. Deer eat like baby birds and stuff. So because of all those misconceptions, people really don't know what's going on in the world or really what's causing a lot of death and destruction. Or if they're really scared about things attacking cats and children, then they should kill all the dogs. there's a lot more dog attacks of children and pets and people and dogs than there are coyotes and wolves.
Absolutely. I was attacked. I mean, I can.
Yeah.
Breathe for that.
Yeah.
Huge dog took me down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've never been attacked by a bobcat, coyote, a wolf, a mountain lion, but yeah, no. When I was young, I had to run into some American holly with all the pricklers in someone's front yard because their 2 German shepherds were coming after me until they called them down. Yeah. And I don't know what, I was in like 6th grade or something. 6th, 8th, I don't know.
I was in 7th grade. So, yeah, isn't that terrifying?
Yeah, when you're like that young and weigh that much, and then these like, I don't know, 70, 120-pound dogs are coming after you. Yeah. You're just totally defenseless. But yeah.
You're a child.
Yeah. But anyway, so we got to put things in context like that, or like how many people die from like salmonella because of cantaloupe or eggs being contaminated.
Mm.
You know, plane crashes, all this other stuff. We got to look at context. So there's more good information in there. Good reasons to read the book. And then some of the cons, I think, the main thing is it's like level of difficulty. Read Soul of the Horse and some other things first. Anything else y'all would add? Kira and Leah? Okay. And so y'all would recommend it to people?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, definitely I would, as you can see, because I had y'all read it. And we're making a podcast about it, so cool. All right, so any last words about the book or anything? So, we're working on an essay about it, and people can do that. Pick out one topic in the book, one chapter, or write a book review of the whole book. And that's a good way to practice writing in science and biology. Because people know a lot about history or English, we write there, but a lot of people, you say, can you write something in math or physics or biology? And they're going to go, huh? You can't write in biology? What does that have to do with writing? How can I write about that? Well, here. So, just write it once, or as we're doing, to really learn to write better, you got to write numerous revisions, go through numerous editorial drafts if you really want to learn to write well. Just writing once is good, but to really make the most of it, make yourself the best you can be, to really learn to think, you've got to write something and look at what you wrote, because your writing is like materialized thinking. Your thinking is frozen on the page, and so you can see at that point, oh, how good is my thinking? And then you can start to see your thinking was bad here and bad there, and oh, I don't know some grammar and I don't know some word choices, so I'm going to think more about this and then record my thinking on the page. And then someone looks at it to see what your current state of thinking is, and they mark up some things, and then at this point they finally point out, because they're doing one thing at a time, that okay, these paragraphs need to be switched because of the order. And so then you think about it, you write more, you process, you record your thinking on the paper in material form, and then you can look at it and observe how well you thought, and then someone else can look at it and repeat. So that's a very important exercise, a very important tool of education. I think more people need to utilize in biology.
And I'd like to add right there that, and for anyone listening that doesn't know this, that you're my 3 kids, Leo, Jack, you're a science teacher, and hadn't really thought about writing papers. I never expected that they'd be doing
Yeah.
that with you. But what's so cool is we really use Skype, to take the classes from you. And so really, if someone's listening to this anywhere, they can hook up with you and make sure that their kids are getting a proper science education that doesn't just go over a bunch of facts and list a bunch of, scientific assertions, but really delves into how you think and how you view science and the world around you.
Yeah.
And that you are just such a great teacher for bringing that out in my 3, because honestly, that is so lacking out there. Once people get that, just a chance to have that with you, they'll completely see their kids thinking and looking at the world differently.
Yeah, it's so important. I wish I would have had that when I was younger.
Me too. But thank gosh you're here.
Yeah. Truth. But anything else, Kira and Leah?
Good note to end.
Cool. All right, cool. So, hope you all enjoyed that, folks. Some good points about the book Coyote America by Dan Flores. Really lets you know what's in the book, and hopefully we're also going over, how to think about it, how to read better, to read this book, and how to draw, how to think in principle so you apply it to other areas, how to think about why this is important. As we talked about with Scott Harris in a recent podcast, Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren in their book, How to Read a Book, says you should answer 4 questions when you're reading something. What's the main idea? What's the detail? Is it true? Why does it matter? When you're reading a book, you should always think about those 4 questions.
Say those 4 again. Do those one more time just to get it out there again.
What is it about? Or what's the big picture? Or what's the main idea? You can say, what is the main idea? Got it? Number 2, what is the detail?
Mm-hmm.
And then, is it true, in whole or in part? And then, why does it matter? I notice that's pretty much what we're always doing when we're doing the books too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have those 4 questions specifically identified and explicit and laid out. Because we're doing it, and I've always brought it up, but just like in a different way. And this might, from a different perspective, I don't know, maybe it seems simpler. Maybe it's simpler language, because when I talk about it, sometimes it's like more philosophical and epistemological and stuff. But that's how we analyze some of the book. We're talking about what is it about, and we're talking about these different parts, and we gave specific examples from the book and gave evidence and talked in there about why it's important and what's true and what's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember, was it in this book that he talked about the kaibob?
I think he mentioned it.
I think, yeah.
And that's something people want to dig into and research on their own. I think I heard about the kaibob Plateau and the deer crash from this book, and then I started looking into it, seeing what's going on. But that's something, again, I talked about how people can, how the book has a lot of information people can research on their own. Even that one topic, like we spent a few classes just on the kaibob deer thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you can get so much out of it. We could have even written an essay or something about that itself, right? So, a lot of good things in the book, really important, and I've listened to it on Audible a few times, not just once. But anything else, guys?
We'll do part 3 if we think it's more.
Yeah, that's funny, true.
We'll have Dan join us. I did want to say that this book's publication date was 2016, so it's quite recent.
Oh, good.
And,
cool.
Up to date and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it'd be nice to have him on.
It would
but yeah, I don't remember if that's everything I wanted to talk about from April 19th, but I think it's still a really good discussion of the book today. I don't think we did a sufficient job the first time. So this, I think, really helps us do a better, more comprehensive view of the book. Because like last time, Leo said he didn't learn much from the book, but it's just because he had forgotten a lot of stuff. It's not the book itself. It's just a lot of stuff in it. He just had forgotten what he learned and what was in it and some of the lessons we learned from it and stuff. Right, Leo? Bashful Leo. I don't want to say it. Okay, cool. All right. So, again, thanks, folks, for listening, and we will talk to y'all soon. Say bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.